morning to you. It is the 6th day of October for 2020. Have you ever, I'm sure all of us have. I was going to say, have you ever? I sounded like Andy Rooney. Have you ever? But I think most of us would say that yes. Had somebody in your life who said, oh, you'll get used to that. It's just a matter of time. You'll get used to that. My feeling is there are some things that you never get used to. You know, and I'm not going to go into all of them, but there are a lot of things that you never get used to. And I say this because two come to mind. People always say, well, I bet you get used to getting up at, 1:30 in the morning and going to work. No. I've been doing it for 30 years. No. You never, ever. Now, you may adjust to it. You may be able to do it. You may accommodate. But you don't get used to it. It's still pitch black. It still seems, but I'm not saying it's been a great life. It's been a beautiful career, but you never get used to it. You never get used to going to work when it's pitch black. And I'm sure there are people that never get used to coming home when it's pitch black, whatever. But you don't get used to that. You know what? The other thing that no matter how long you live in Southeast Texas, you may never get used to: mosquitoes. They are back this year. Are you having a problem? They are certainly back at my house. Even in the middle of the day, when you go out and I try to sit outside on the patio, mosquitoes are there. They are present. Morning, everybody. I'm Dan Gresham. Thanks for dropping by. I know I'm running a little bit late today, but this is the at-home update. So I cannot do it until I get home. And today I had things to do, people to talk to, and I didn't get here until later. So I, again, apologize for starting a little bit later in the day. And it's going to happen from time to time, but I promise we'll still try to make the effort, to get the information out to you from our house. And if it's the first time you've ever joined us for an at-home update, it is much different. I try to say this almost every single day because I think it's worth noting. This is not a newscast. I am not in a studio. I am not presenting things as this is the news. It's the headline of the day. These are observations. These are stories. This is a much more casual approach to what's going on in our world. Okay? And either you can live with that if you can't. And if it's something that you find uncomfortable, I apologize, but moving forward, it's probably still going to be that way. But you're welcome to comment. You can always jump in at the bottom of the screens. I see your comments. I can post your comments. I can say good morning to you, just like you say good morning to me. Good morning, Rebecca. Good to have you up. Carlene, always good to see you too. Lady Wolf Phil says, good morning, Dan and everyone. Also, Myra Martin is up. Good morning. What a beautiful day. And it is a beautiful day out there. But let me suggest that if you're just getting out this morning, you run out there and enjoy it. And if you haven't seen the forecast, let me just explain to you, it's about to change. And I'm not talking about in a dramatically bad way necessarily. I'm just saying that if you've enjoyed the cool temps that we've had, they're about to change. Tom, I've got to imagine, because Tom watches us in Illinois, I've got to imagine that every morning now in Illinois is probably a pretty cool start moving forward, right? Because you are into fall for sure. Pamela Jo Myers, yes, it is nice, cool weather. I'm with you on that. Janahana, good morning to you. Janelle, good morning to you. Vanessa, good to see you up this morning, as it is Tammy. And Mary Wofford is up this morning. Thank you for all you do to keep up with what's going on. It's my job, and besides, I like doing it. Joyce Ewing, good morning. She said, you need some bats around. I did notice, Joyce, that I do have bats that have been flying around in the backyard. But the problem is, in the middle of the day, are the bats out? Because if they are, I haven't seen them. And if they are, they're not doing a good enough job. Maybe I need more bats is my problem. Yeah. Annie, good morning to you as well. Connie, nice to have you with us this morning too. Cammie McBride, good morning to you. John, good morning for my second time. Well, John, make a habit out of it. And we'll reach out to you and try to make sure that you know what's going on. Roxy, good morning as well. Kemery Jones, good morning to you too. And again, I love to hear from you. I love to know that you're there. I like to hear you say, I'm here, I'm watching from, good morning, here's my question, what do you think about what's going on here? And I'll do my best, I promise, to try to answer those questions. I want to go back to one. that I've had several people ask me about. And it hasn't been that I'm avoiding the issue. I just didn't know exactly what to say. A lot of people have asked me, is Greg Kerr, what happened to Greg Kerr? Where's Greg Kerr? Greg Kerr is no longer employed at KFDM TV. I can't tell you a whole lot more than that. But Greg, of course, a part of our family for a long time. I wish him nothing but good luck. I hope things go well for him. He will be missed. And again, I really don't know that much more about it. To be quite honest with you, it's really interesting. People think that I see Greg Bostwick all the time. Greg and I will see each other and cross paths maybe once or twice a year. It just doesn't happen because we're at opposite ends of the spectrum. You know, he is working late at night. I'm working early in the morning. So our paths just don't. So for those of you who have asked, that's really about all that I can tell you. I really don't know that much more myself. But we work in a job where that just, it happens. All jobs, I guess, that happens. We just happen to be in one that's a little bit more out in the public eye. All right, so let's jump in, find out what's happening in your headlines this morning. Funny, I should say something about mosquitoes, because look, here's a story about the war against mosquitoes in Jefferson County. I'll never forget, because I grew up in an area where mosquitoes were not something. Northeast Texas, we really had fireflies. We may have had some mosquitoes, but not like we've got here. So when I first moved here, I had to learn how to spell it. I really did. I was like, how do you? So mosquitoes is kind of how I remembered, you know, how now, of course, it's kind of second nature. But this is a story that it seems like we do every year, right? That you have a tropical storm, you have a lot of rain, and then you're going to have to deal with the outbreak. And the folks at the Jefferson County Mosquito Control are saying that that is the issue. You know, is that we've had a lot of rain, we had a lot of mosquitoes. And from what I understand in my years of talking to the people at Mosquito Control repeatedly, as you can imagine, it is always that, you know, there are, as I understand it, there are eggs that are dormant and they're laying there. And then once the rain comes and the water hits them, then they hatch. So it can go for a long period of time with these eggs laying there, and then you get a good rain, and maybe it's not the first one, maybe it's the second one, maybe it doesn't get. And the other thing that I learned through the years is there are lots of different types of mosquitoes. There's not just one mosquito or mosquitoes. There are lots of varieties of them, and some of them sting and hurt worse than others, right? So anyway, Jefferson County says they're up, they're running, they know, they're trying to do everything they can. I'm sure Orange County Mosquito Control doing the same thing. Every county trying to do what they can to control the outbreak of the mosquitoes this time of year. The other story, of course, that's really probably captured everybody's attention just because of what it is and where we live, is Hurricane Delta. Now, in talking to Dana this morning, again, the feeling still is, even though that high that is over us or has been over us, that's been providing all this nice, comfortable weather, you know, and those north breezes is breaking down a little bit, it still should be strong enough that we shouldn't be an issue. But I don't know about you, but when I see this picture, you know, and I see the cone of uncertainty, and it does, these are the, if you're not familiar with this, and you can look at this and see, the further out a storm is, the wider the cone, right? So if you're right here where the center of the storm is this morning, approaching, you know, the coast there, the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, if you're within 50 miles or within 20 miles, it's a very narrow cone. The line goes down the middle, but it could deviate to either side. It's a very narrow cone. But the further out you go, the wider the cone is. So at this point, you're talking from right at, you know, this side of East Bay all the way to the other side of New Orleans. That's a wide cone. And it may catch your attention. You go, well, it comes across a sliver of Texas. Yes, it does. But again, this is called the cone of uncertainty for a reason, because there's not a whole lot that is certain about tropical weather, except that you don't know what happens till it happens. That's layman's terms. My idea has always been, You don't know what's going to happen till that. I mean, they have better ideas, certainly. They have a pretty good idea of direction, of the influences that are going on. So at this point, you're looking at, sometime late Friday afternoon, evening into Saturday morning, making landfall somewhere probably between, say, Lafayette and New Orleans as a Category 2, downgrading to a 1. But this thing, you look at it before it hits, the Yucatan, you're talking about a 4. Cozumel, Cancun, resort areas who've already been hit by the pandemic are now going to have to deal with a pretty strong storm. And again, it always bears watching. You've lived here long enough, even if you haven't, ask any of the old timers. You just want to keep watching what's going on. You just have to. I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I'm just a realist. You just have to. That's just the smart and prudent thing to do. But at this point, that's the track that they have Hurricane Delta. A sign of the times, right? 2020. We've already gone through every single name. And now we're into the Greek alphabet here. So we're in Hurricane Delta. And we will certainly keep you up to date on air, online, all the latest information. You know where to go. Same place you've been going for, 70 years. To some of the best sources you can possibly find. All right, so let's go back to KFDM.com. Again, a couple of those stories that we want to bring to mind this morning. The Tugboat Island story is one that just kind of breaks your heart. If you're one of those people who 25 years ago, you volunteered for this playground it was a labor of love, Tugboat Island, that people came together and they worked hard and put this thing together, and it has been a great playground. But after 25 years, it's showing wear and tear. And now the folks in Port Neches are going to have to make some decisions about what they're going to do, because they can't keep it open. They just don't feel like that it's safe to remain open. Tugboat Island, there at Port Neches Park. So, they've got to make a decision. Do you shut it down and just tear it down? Do you try to rebuild it? They're saying that really they need to start over. It's not something that you can repair at this point. It's probably something that needs to be rebuilt. Can you do it again? That's the question they have to ask themselves, and that's the question they plan to ask. What do we do moving forward? It was a beacon for a lot of folks. Tugboat Island. Let's take the kids. Hey, let's go over to the park. Let's go to Tugboat Island. Because it was cool. You can go and watch Angel's story if you want to in its entirety. You can read the story, and you can watch and see what they decide to do. And again, if it's a volunteer effort, I can remember working on Tugboat Island. Rotary clubs, all kinds of organizations had schedules posted. And we were out there at all hours building this playground. And again, well invested. It lasted for 25 years. The lifespan of those playgrounds, according to the consultants and the people who helped put it together, is 15 years. So they got 10 extra years out of that playground. Like I say, people come from all over Southeast Texas to play on it. You had school districts that were bringing buses. They had to schedule when people could be at Tugboat Island. So let's hope they come up with something. And again, they're going to be talking about that on Thursday at their city council meeting. We'll be there. We'll get you an update on that story as well. The other story to talk about this morning, again, a lot of people talking about Governor Abbott's decision and a lawsuit filed about dropping off absentee ballots. We'll continue to watch that as well, see where that goes in the courts. But at this time, it is still in play. Now, don't forget, if you did not register, unfortunately, you've lost your opportunity here in the state of Texas. Our voter registration ended yesterday. Early voting will begin on October the 13th. And of course, the general election is set for November the 3rd. So that kind of catch up on some of the bigger stories that we're following this morning. I always like to look at other things. These are stories, obviously, that you can catch up on anytime by going to KFDM.com, by going to the Facebook page, which you're on now. We try to always keep things posted on both places, so you have a variety of different platforms that you can access your news from. But let me also take you to a couple other stories. These are not necessarily earth-shaking, shattering stories, But I did want to show you, because a lot of people have been talking about the fact that, a lot of things have opened up, but one thing that has not opened up, back up, bars. Actually, they were open, they were closed, they were open, they were closed, if I remember right. The governor's closed them twice. Well, now he's hinting that he might reopen bars or allow bars to reopen, which I'm assuming there are a lot of people in that business that it better happen pretty quick, or they may not be, around to see a time when it's okay. But what's changed is the infection rate and the average positivity rate, which is down considerably. We're talking about, at one time it was at 18%, now it's at 6%. So it looks as though the governor is leaning that direction. Also this morning, I found this highly disturbing to some degree, but this is Houston Chronicle, a story. It says, the survey shows just how much Texans love Whataburger, H-E-B, and more. You can go out and read this. It's a survey conducted by YouGov and funded by the Center for Public Opinion at the University of Massachusetts. 882 likely voters asked their opinion on Donald Trump, Joe Biden, all these other political questions. And you can see the answer to that. But the last questions offered more insight into the minds of Texans, asking their opinion on things like H-E-B, Whataburger, queso, Luby's. That's right. Queso. 73% said favorable. Wouldn't you think that'd be like 100%? But what really is scary is that 10 people didn't even know what queso was. Now, I get it that, people in Texas don't know what In-N-Out Burger is, or Joe Rogan, or the Alamo Drafthouse, because that appeals to a specific small, and especially if you get into names. People don't know who Dak Prescott is, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, no. Well, there are a lot of people that don't follow football. I know some people think, that, but no, not everybody. Mike McCarthy, even less, because he's the new coach of the Dallas Cowboys, so people really may not know. It was also a little bit surprising, like I said, that there would be 10 people that you would ask that didn't know what queso was. Can you think of anybody, and again, I'm not throwing any shade there, I'm just saying, but do you know anybody in your life, can you think of anybody in your life who lives in this state that doesn't know what queso is? Because I always think, but exclude children, exclude those who might be 5 or 6 years old. But anybody beyond the age of probably 10 in the state of Texas, in some form or fashion, you would think they would know what queso is. And now it comes in a lot of forms. Do you have a preference? Do you have a favorite? Are you a white cheese, a Blanco cheese person? White cheese? Or do you prefer, the typical yellow? Do you like real homemade queso, or you prefer Rotel and some Velveeta cheese? It comes in all shapes and all sizes. And maybe it's because it was called queso and people call it cheese dip instead of queso. I'm not really sure, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time worrying about it. I'm sure you won't either, but I just thought it was interesting that these are out there. So again, if you want to see the whole thing, you can go to YouGov, that's YOUGOV, and you can see the entire survey if you want to. I'm just going to show it to you. I showed you what it looked like in the Houston Chronicle. This is what it looks like in PDF form. So you can go through and you can cycle through all of them. Who knew this person, that person. They ask questions about the election. They ask about the Senate race here in the state of Texas. They ask about the different parties, GOP, and then they ask about, do you think the country's going the right direction or the wrong direction? And again, this is just coordinated through the University Center for Public Opinion, UMass Lowell. And again, it's 882 likely Texas voters. I always find it interesting, opinion polls. I don't put a whole lot of stock in them necessarily, but I think it's interesting when you ask people a question. And of course, it's how's the question asked? What direction is it pointed? How did you word it? There are a lot of variables that go into any kind of a poll. All right, and I always like to end on something a little bit lighter, but this is really, I think, is beyond light. This is a story that should be a little bit inspiring to you. And we hear so much negativity going on today. I'm always looking for inspiration, if not for you, for myself, because it's easy to fall into that, mindset of negative. But this is USA Today. USA Today not only has a written word, but they also do video pieces. This is a piece that caught my eye today because I thought it was really interesting. And you can go, you don't even have to listen to it. You can just watch it. But it's the story of a hiker who's tackling Parkinson's and the Appalachian Trail at the same time. And if you're not familiar with the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Coast Trail or any of these other trails, it's unbelievable, the test that he's putting himself to. And he's doing it while he has Parkinson's disease. And like I said, you don't even have to go and listen to it. You don't have to listen to his words. You can read it. It's one of those where you can, actually see the word. But he's hiking the trail, which is 1,000+ miles, and takes days and days to do it. And he's doing it all, again, while dealing with the effects. And there is the Appalachian Trail. Look how far that thing is. He was diagnosed in 2015, but he is determined. He's already tried it one time. But now that he's further diagnosed and tremors are worse, he says it's now or never. That he's going to fight until the end. He's going to fight till he can't fight anymore. But he also saw this as a fundraising effort. So kudos to him. His goal is $5,000, and he's working close to that. He's beyond $3,000 now. But again, just as an individual mission for himself, a goal. That's pretty admirable that you would go out and do that. Certainly should be inspiring to the rest of us that really don't have much issue to deal with in our life other than deciding what we're going to have for lunch. Many times we want to make things perhaps bigger than they are. Sometimes in life, certainly they are that way. But for all our challenges, sometimes it's good to be inspired. Again, appreciate your being with us this morning. I want to remind you, you can post up in the comments. I read the comments. I don't always have the answers. I wish I did, but I'm certainly not the answer man. But I'll go and look and see what I can find and bring it up the next day, or try to bring it up the next day if I can remember to do so. And then, of course, remind you too, if you don't mind, just give us a thumbs up, a like, or any other of the emojis that you want to, heart, crime, anger, mad, whatever emoji you want to put up there. It's just, again, an indicator so that I can see that you were here and you posted something up, you had a reaction one way or the other. Plus, of course, the reminder too, you can check on us a lot of different ways. You're right here on the Facebook page at KFDM News. You can also check on me. Twitter, my handle there is Morning TV Dan, or you can go to the YouTube page. Our YouTube channel is up, Dan's at Home. You can subscribe, and you will be alerted every time we post an update. And we do that every time we're on Facebook. We certainly just turn around and put it right back on YouTube as well. So there are lots of things to do. So listen, go out and make it a good day today. Find some way that you can make a difference in somebody's life. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It might be something small, but make a difference. Maybe it's just making eye contact and being friendly with somebody over the course of your day. It looks like we could all use a little bit more of that in our lives. Either way, I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning on KFDM TV with the morning show. And of course, don't forget the latest headlines, latest information when it comes to tropical weather. You can also find on KFDM, KFDM.com, on Fox4Beaumont.com, on the Facebook pages, and tonight at, noon, 5, 6, 6:30, 9:30. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's there, and it's there for the taking. It's easy to do. So take advantage of that information and go out and make it a terrific day.